Welcome to City Church's On-Demand Messages. My name is Josh, and we're so glad that you're tuning in whenever and wherever you're tuning in from. In fact, it's possible that you either stumbled across this online or somebody shared this, and you are leading it maybe for the first time. If you have any questions or want to know more about who we are, we'd love for you to visit our website. In fact, if you can even plan your first visit on our website. If you've got kids, we have a kids ministry specifically for them. You can plan your visit. You can go ahead and check them in, learn more about what that will be like. Maybe a middle or high school student, we've got you covered. And so if you have any questions or anything that we can do for you, please just check out our website. Today's message is going to be very special, and we're thankful that you're tuning in. It'll be anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes. And so if we can do anything for you, please let us know. But enjoy today's message. Well, good morning. My name's Josh, and I am one of the pastors here, and excited that you are here. Whether you're here for family dedication, or you're just here, or child dedication, or you're here for just because you're here and you're here for the first time, or maybe you just always show up and you're back here again. Glad you're here, excited you are here. We are in our third week of a series called Here to Stay. If it's your first time with us, we do these. It's really just a collection of talks in a specific direction. And one of those, in the direction that we've been in for the last couple of weeks, is this idea that we see all throughout the scripture that a community, that a city needs the staying power presence of Jesus in his church. That there's something powerful about looking at someone and saying, no matter what you've done, no matter what you've walked through or gone through, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to stay. And so we've been in these talks, and so this morning we're going to kind of pick up in this, and we've been in a specific story in the Old Testament, Jeremiah 29. We'll hop there in a second, but here's what we said: that here to stay people. They believe, I'm here for a reason. I will leave a legacy where I live, and I will grow where I am planted. And so before we jump into those, let me pause and say, maybe for some of you this morning, you're wondering if City Church is a place that you want to be here to stay. Like, you want to plant roots down, you want to be a part of this, you want to get partnered and plugged in. Well, if that's you and you've been coming for a little while, here's the thing I would encourage you to come to. Next Sunday at 11 o'clock in the lobby, we're going to have something called Next Step. And it's a chance to hear more about our church, more about what we believe, and also learn more about how you can get connected and plugged in. So if you come for a little while, sign up for Next Step. You can actually go to the black tent on your way out, and you can sign up there, and they love to get you plugged in there. So here to stay people believe three things. I won't lie, I kind of worked that in there because I was supposed to say it all off the top, and I forgot to say it. So that's how I worked it in there. You like that? You even noticed, did you? Didn't even notice. All right, here we are. All right. So here to say people believe three things. If you feel like you're kind of jerked all around right there, that's why. I am here for a reason. I will leave a legacy where I live. I will grow where I am planted. Last week, we talked about that I'm here for a reason. You are here specifically, geographically, physically here for a reason, but God also has you in the home, the workplace, and the life that he has you for a reason. And so people that believe they're here for a reason, then will believe, I will leave a legacy where I live. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's talk about this word legacy for a second, because depending on who you ask, they're going to define this word in different ways. But the word legacy, I would say that the word legacy means that it's what you leave, what we leave when we leave. It's what we leave when we leave. Whenever we leave maybe it's a situation, but also whenever we leave this earth, it's the things that we leave behind. It's what we leave. A question around that could be, what about your life will outlive you? What about your life, the way that you're living it, the decisions you're making, the choices you're making, what you believe, what you're saying, what you're doing? What about that will outlive you? Legacies are funny things, because when we begin to talk about legacy, and we begin to ask questions like, what do you want to be known for? There's usually a gap between the life we want to be remembered for and the life that we are living. And it's a scary day when you realize that your life isn't headed in the direction that you want it to be remembered for. But it's also a great day because today you can do something about it. And so we crave the idea that we want our life to matter. And whether you have faith in Jesus or not, you know this to be true. We want our life to matter. And so our context and where we're at is Jeremiah 29. So let me give you a little bit backstory of where they're at. So it's the people of Israel, God's people.
his chosen people, he has actually placed them into captivity. We know that this was predicted a long time before this because of their sin. He places them in captivity in a place called Babylon. Now, Babylon was a great foreign nation, also a pagan nation, meaning that they didn't believe in the one true God. They believed in false gods. And what Babylon would do is that they believed in assimilation. And so if we can get you here, if we can get you to experience all of our ways, then you'll drop your ways and what you believe and begin to believe and live the way that we live. And so he places them in Babylon, and there's a false prophet that comes along and says, hey guys, just sit tight. You're only going to be here for 2 years. And then a real true prophet of God, Jeremiah, comes along and says, actually, you're not going to be here for 2 years. You're going to be here for 70 years. And so because of that, God's saying, because you're going to be here for a long time, I want you to be here, be physically there where you are. Don't try to think ahead. Actually build roots down deep. He says, build houses, plant gardens. He says, seek the peace and the flourishing of the city to which I have sent you, even into captivity, even in this foreign nation, this pagan nation. I want you to seek their peace and flourishing. We're going to talk about that in 2 weeks. But he also says something else that just seems like, whatever, it makes sense. But in verse 6, here's what he says. He says, take wives and have sons and daughters. Take wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage that they may bear sons and daughters, multiply there, and do not decrease. Now, at face value, it just looks like a verse on procreation, right? Like get married and have babies. But what we see here, even in this space, as these people are in captivity, God says there is an opportunity for you to serve me and obey me. And I want to give you this structure and this design of what this looks like. Get married, have kids, and then see your kids get married and they have kids, and keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. Multiply there, grow there. And we see this and we say, okay, well, this is just a verse about getting married and have kids, but it gives us the design, hey, get married and have kids, but it also tells us something deeper. Like, why would God say this? Well, they're in a culture in Babylon that when it comes to sexuality and relationships, it was just whatever you feel like, whatever you want to do. And so when it came around the worship of pagan gods, the things that they would do there, where God's like, that's not what I'm about. Basically Babylon was like, hey, you love whoever you want to love, do whatever you want to do, whether they're male or female, whatever you want to do, you do that. And that's okay, that's what Babylon says. And what we see, what God says is, hey, in this space, in this place, while you are here, and while they're going to want you to assimilate to that, I'm telling you, verse 6, hey, hold fast to the design that I have for family. Now, here's why. Again, this just feels like procreation, right? But here's why this matters. Because baked into this is what these families would know that God desired for them. It was more than just get married and have a family. These people knew what God desired for them in the family. So before this, Deuteronomy chapter 6, here's what God says. He says this to the family. He says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart." So this is known as the Shema. So he says, "Hear, O Israel." This word "hear," in that language back in that time, there was no word for obey, a separate word from listen and obey. It was just hear. So when you see the word "hear," he says, you're not just going to listen to this, you're also going to obey this. And so you're not just going to hear it, you're going to do it. So he says, "Hear the Lord your God, the Lord is one. Love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart." So this is the command that he's telling to these people. And then here's what he says to do with this command. Verse 7. "You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates." So love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. With everything you've got, I'm telling you to love God. And then he says, I'm not just telling you to do that as parents, as grandparents. I'm saying teach your children to do the same. And the thing is that if those kids then teach their kids. It just continues to go and continues to go and continues to go. So think about these, look at these action words, right? He says, teach. Then he says, talk about it. And then he says, bind it on your hands. So what they would do back in that time, very similar, but not similar to my WWJD bracelet, is that they would actually have a little box that was wrapped around their wrist that had the Shema, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul. Had it written in it. And so anytime that their hands were put to work and their kids saw their hands put to work, they knew that that was physically there. And then he says, don't just bind it on your hands. He says, let it be as frontlets on your eyes. So they would go a step further and they would wrap it around like a headband on their head, same box. And so as they thought and as they saw, it was this idea that they would see it. So as they saw their family, the kids saw their parents walking through life, they knew that what was guiding their eyes, guiding their thoughts, guiding their intentions was the Shema. Then he says, so write it. Write it. So don't just talk about it. Don't just do it, don't just wear it, but write it. And then where does he say to do all this stuff? Like, let's look at not just the actions, but the places, the wheres of it. He says, when you sit in your home, okay, talk about it. When you walk by the way, it's very vague, wherever the way is. When you're walking by it, talk about it. When you go to bed, when you wake up, as you're doing work with your hands, as you're seeing and looking. And then he says, write on your doorposts, on your gates, so no more beware of dog signs on your gates. It's the Shema, right? Like everywhere, write this. And write it, wear it, say it, under the context of there is no difference in that Jewish culture between listening and obeying. So live it. I think a question for us would be, as parents, grandparents, as family and friends, because I'll just say right now, people will tell you now, studies show now, that anyone from the age of really birth to 18 years old, the best shot that they have to become an adult who loves God is if they had 5 adults in their life that love God. 5 adults. That's the best shot they got. So if you're not a parent in this room, we still need you. So the question is, for all of us, if we're going to leave a legacy, here's kind of a checkbox for us, okay? If you want to leave a legacy, if you want to leave something that matters, that will go on long after we leave this earth, what are you teaching? What are you talking about in your home? When you're walking by the way, what are you saying? What are the words that come out of your mouth? When you're working and serving, what's on the front of your mind in your home, hanging on the walls? This may be an easy one if you love Hobby Lobby, but hang on the walls. What's written down there? I think what he wants us to see, what the author wants us to see, and really what God wants us to see is your children can't hear, the next generation can't hear what you don't tell them, and they can't follow what you don't show them. And so you leave a legacy by what you say and what they see, not just by what we say. We leave a legacy by what you say and what they see. Hey, City Kids small group leader, whether those are your actual biological kids or not, but you're leading them in small group, guess what? City students leader, guess what? You're going to leave a legacy in those kids' lives by what you say and what they see. Hey, parents, grandparents, you're going to leave a legacy in your kid's life by what you say. It matters, but it also matters what they see. Hey, person who's just trying, what is my way in life? But I'm here, I'm at this workplace, and there's these kids that are much younger than me in these generations, just those millennials and all that, all that, Gen Z and all, you're going to leave a legacy for them by what you say about them, and what they see from you. This is the mindset. So as God is talking to the people of Israel in captivity in Babylon, in a place they don't want to be, where there's temptation all around them, he's saying the family needs to stay together, and not just stay together my way, but they need to live my way. Another passage that I love, this is all throughout Scripture, and I don't have time for all of it, but all throughout Scripture, Psalm 145, verses 4-7 says, one generation shall commend your works to another and shall declare your mighty acts. On the glorious splendor of your majesty and on your wondrous works I will meditate. They shall speak of the might of your awesome deeds, and I will declare your greatness. They shall pour forth the fame of your abundant goodness, and shall sing aloud of your righteousness. That word commend, it means to praise or boast. And so what he says is the vision, God's vision, the model is from one generation to another, from one generation to another, that they're going to boast of the works of God. Parents, what are we supposed to do with the next generation, with your kids? Grandparents, with your kids and grandkids? Leader, person here that has people in their life for the next generation, what is the best thing that we can do to not just tell them what God has done, but to tell them with passion about what God has done, to boast in what he has done, to commend them. This isn't just for moms, dads, grandmas, and granddads, but all of us in the church to look at the next generation and ask ourselves, how can I brag and boast about who God is to them? Because the faith of one generation plants the seed of faith in the next. And so what David is saying in his final psalm, he's saying that one generation's praise of who God is will inform the next generation of his works. The word picture here of from one generation to the other is actually that of like a relay race in track. So I've never run track, okay? Also, this is not a legit baton. I ordered one, and then Amazon said it's coming on Tuesday. And so I went and got a wooden dowel, and I painted it. And this is, so if you're like, that's not a legitimate baton for a track race, I know. Just let it be an example, okay? But the idea is that of running track. That a runner runs his race understanding that what is in his hand, what he holds in his hand, is not for him, but it is for the person ahead of him. To place it in the hand of the person ahead of him. So he runs, he sweats, it's hot because it's been in his hand the whole time. All of that race is built up into this baton, and as he runs, and I'm not going to do it the right way, but he hands it off to the next person so that they can run their race. Can I ask you, what is in your baton? Right now, if you were to take the sum of your life and hand it over to the next generation, what would they get? What words of affirmation would they get? What truth about God would they get? What way of living would they get? What would you hand off now to the next generation? And if there is guilt or shame because you say, I haven't been doing it God's way, well, there's good news today that you're still breathing. And so you can do it the right way. Because along with the truth of God, there's the grace of God. The truth convicts us and the grace forgives us. And he says, okay, now let's do it my way. And no matter what the baton, the race has looked like to this point, you say from this point on, the baton that I'm handing off is going to be one that boasts about the goodness of God, that teaches the next generation how to obey his commands, to follow him passionately and fully. What would you hand off today? And if it's not what you think God would want or not even what your desire is, then what are you going to do about it? I think I'm going to wrap up two legacy questions for us. The first one is this. What is the next generation hearing from you? What is the next generation hearing from you? Your kids, grandkids, coworkers, friends, families, friends? What are they hearing from you? What are the words that come out of your mouth? And I'm not just saying like, are you cussing? Or I'm not. Is what comes out of your mouth, when we look at the Shema, the model, like, is it words that support love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength? What are they hearing from you? Second question is, though, what is the next generation seeing from you? For many people, and I've been here as well, there's a big disparity between this and this. Because we're here and we love God and we sing songs about him, and then we jump on Facebook and bash people. Or we're here and we see people and we see them their face and we give them hugs, like, oh yeah, and then we get in our car and just gossip about them. Are your kids hearing that stuff? Whether they're hearing it or not, are you doing it? Because that doesn't honor God. What is the next generation hearing from you? But also, what are they seeing from you? You cannot separate those two things in life. They are one and the same.